Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the ParentPorch podcast. I am your host, Dom, the Uncaped Mama. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, tag your friends. Make sure that you continue to engage, especially throughout this podcast. I really want to see what you think about this and everything that I share today. Before we jump in, this podcast episode is hosted by Dream Nation. We love Dream Nation Media. Dream Nation Media is a big supporter of the ParentPorch podcast, and we wouldn't be here without Dream Nation Media. So that is the place to go to really get inspired and make your dreams come true. So thank you, Dream Nation Media, for sponsoring this episode of the ParentPorch podcast. I'm excited to be back with you. I really decided to create a series. And so I wanted to do something special and really walk you through something. And I hope it is received well. And I hope ultimately that it really helps parents at home. So we are really going to dive into something that I think is deeply needed. Parenting, especially online, the advice and all those things, it's just noisy. It is hard to figure out what do I want to do and what works for me, and is this going to work for my kids and in my home, and it's fast paced. Once you feel okay, I figured something out, it changes. And so I created this series called The Mindful Parent, to serve as a guide, me talking you through an ebook that I actually created in the fall. So we created this in the fall. We launched it on our website, ParentPorch.com. And I wanted to make sure that we had something to go with it. And also just so that you could understand what else is in there. So today, we're going to talk about what mindful parenting is. I'm going to have some tips and some stories for you. And I will also have an activity for you to practice with me. So it is okay if you are driving or you're listening to this somewhere. When we get to that part, I will let you know that we're there. You can pause it and come back to it, or you can listen to it and then try it later. There's no right way to do this. I do want to make sure that we get through it though. So I'm going to jump in and just talk to you about this. And so if you're wondering, mindful parenting, is this for me? Oh, it's another parenting thing. I would say that this is for you if you're a person who's how do I stay calm when I'm overwhelmed? I'm a whole person. I have feelings too. How do I stay calm? Or how do I connect with my kids? Especially when I feel I'm just constantly reacting to them or to their behaviors or to what I'm hearing and what I'm going through. I'm going to talk through all of that. And I think this is totally for you. This is for all human parents because we all deal with feelings, right? And our kids are also humans and they're dealing with feelings at the exact same time as we're dealing with things. And so my hope is that this helps you to feel like you have a tool to be more mindful. And we're going to walk through it and break it down over the next however long it takes. So I want to talk about what mindful parenting isn't. And I think it's important for me to clear the air on that because I want to be clear about what it is. So it's not about being calm 100% of the time. It's not about eliminating chaos in your home or pretending like you don't get mad or pretending like you don't have feelings. It's not about not getting in touch with your feelings either. It's not about ignoring your needs in order to be a good parent. And it's just about being mindful. It's about mindfulness. It's about not sacrificing yourself and your needs in order to be a good parent. So that's what this is all about. And I wrote down that mindful parenting doesn't require perfect language or perfect routines. It just asks you to be present with what's here. So I want to give some examples of what this means. And then throughout this episode, I'm going to share some personal stories to bring this home. So when you yell, you apologize. That's you being mindful. In this moment, I just yelled. I didn't really want to yell. I don't like yelling. I don't like how it feels to yell. I'm sorry. That's being mindful. Or you're having a rough, busy day. There's a lot on your mind. and you say mid-sentence while you're trying to address something your kids are doing, or while they're trying to tell you something, you're saying, you know what, can you give me a minute? I need a minute. Like, it can literally be like, I need a minute. And maybe redirecting them. Can you go and play with X, Y, and Z toy for 10 minutes? Can you go read a book for 10 minutes? You know, whatever is appropriate. Like, can you help me with your laundry for a minute? I just need a minute. That's being mindful. You recognizing this is where I'm at. Something is happening here. I need a second. Like, before I just react. That's mindfulness. It's not this like deep practice of, you know, trying to be perfect all the time, because we are imperfect people. That perfection is like not a thing, despite what you may be seeing online. It's not. It's parenting is not perfect, but you can still be an excellent parent without sacrificing your own needs and your own feelings and your own emotions. So that's what it's not. So let's talk about what mindful parenting is. And I want to highlight that it's awareness, it's like non-judgmental, and it's presence. So being aware, being non-judgmental, and being present in the moment. And so I wrote down this definition about what it is. Mindful parenting is about noticing your own thoughts, emotions, and nervous system before trying to manage your child's behavior. It's choosing being present over being perfect. It's showing up real and not rehearsed. Like, it's allowing you to be like a real person in this moment with whatever you are feeling, and making a decision, making a choice about what you're going to do. So I want to give an example. And like kind of talk you through what happened. Like, it's something with me that is like super recent. I was literally talking about it this morning at my son's ABA family guidance meeting, because I thought it was like an important thing to bring up, and talking about like what he learned through that, but also what I learned as a parent of a child with autism spectrum disorder who is also mostly non-speaking. And in this, I want you to recognize that like it's me stopping and figuring out like what was happening inside of me, while also recognizing what was happening with him in this story, and really modeling like emotional regulation, and also like modeling a solution that he could learn from. And so I worked really hard not to judge myself, not to judge him. And while the thoughts in my mind were kind of floating around about being a bad mom, I wanted to make sure like I did not allow that to happen. So a couple of weeks ago, I had done some deep cleaning, and I mopped the floor a couple times. We'd done laundry. I'd put it away. I reorganized the toys. I cleaned up. I'd like reorganized and reset up like the play area, which is honestly my living room, for my toddlers. And we were good to go. So I was making dinner, and it was one of those dinners where it's like the beginning of the recipe. I can't remember exactly what I was making, but I couldn't step away from the stove. It was one of those things where like I needed the garlic and the onions to like caramelize. And if it's too many seconds too long, it's going to burn. It was something like that. And of course, within that time, my son wanted his cup filled. And I'm like, okay, like, give me a second. I'll get it in just a second, you know. And he's 3, so he hasn't really learned patience. 5 seconds feels really long to him, and sometimes 5 seconds feels really long to me too. And so I was like cooking, as I said, told him give me a second, and he started to cry, really loud. It was like tantrum style scream crying, and I was like, okay. Takes his cup, throws it on the floor, spills out some of the remaining smoothie that he had in there. And I'm like angry. Like, oh my God, I just cleaned up. Like, I said, give me a second, and I didn't say all this out loud, but this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling angry. I'm also like, I can't move away from the stove because I'm cooking, and I don't want to burn this part of the meal because I'm going to scrap the whole thing. He doesn't understand any of that. He wants his smoothie. So I'm like, okay. I took a deep breath, and very quickly in my brain, I'm like, what's going on here? This is what he has going on, and he's crying. In the midst of that, I had raised my voice before I stopped. I was like, I told you to wait a second. I just cleaned the floor, right? Like, started to do that. I stopped before I took that deep breath. Took that deep breath. Was like, what's going on here? This is what's happening with me. This is what's happening with him. Okay. Let me turn the stove off. Let me move this pan from away from, this hot eye on the stove. I'll put it over here. I'm going to go and grab his smoothie because it's already made. I just need to pour it in his cup. I will get him a new cup. I'll pick up the one off of the floor. While I'm in the kitchen, I'm going to grab, the paper towels or the wipes. We're going to wipe this floor up, give him his cup. And you know what? Let me grab a snack too for him and his sister, since I know I'm going to be cooking. Let me just try to anticipate. Now, all of that took maybe 30 seconds to like really get done. And it was quiet. He had what he needed. Sister had what she needed. I was able to get back to the stove. Nothing burned. I was able to finish the meal. It was delicious. And I was able to learn something in that moment while meeting his needs. There was another time, similar thing, deep clean, mop, cleaned up, reorganized everything. This is like shortly after, right? I'm telling you about this smoothie thing on the floor. So a couple of days later, similar situation. I'm cooking a much faster meal, and the kids are playing, so I can see them. And my son picks up the Lego bucket. He can see it. I have like clear buckets that I have labeled for easy cleanup, and he picks it up. He opens it and dumps all the blocks on the floor. All the Legos are on the floor, and I'm like, I yell his name. I can feel the rage, and I'm like, so of course, me yelling his name, he stops. Right? He looks at me, his eyes are really wide. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, I don't even like yelling. Now I don't like feel great in my body. Like now I'm hot. I'm like sweating over some blocks. So again, I move what I'm cooking to the different eye of the stove. I walk over to him and I put my hand over his and we clean up the blocks. And I'm narrating, we're cleaning up the blocks. We're going to put it back on the shelf. And then you're just going to take what you need. Because mommy just cleaned up, blah, blah, blah. And, he's able to like understand more than he's able to verbally communicate his needs. So we're doing that. He actually doesn't like that. He doesn't like the fact that, I have to pick up all these blocks, because now he's recognizing, okay, this is a lot of stuff. So we're putting in the bucket, put it back on the shelf. He has the ones that he needs. And like he goes and he like sits on the couch and plays with the blocks for a second. I go back to cook. 5 minutes later, he goes back and he's about to do the same thing. He picks up the bucket, he takes the lid off, and I say his name. I'm like, Chunk, turns around, kind of looks up. He's like, huh. He puts the lid back on and he puts it back on the shelf. And I said, good job. Because you already have the blocks that you need. And he goes right back to what he had. And he just decided I'm just going to pick a whole different toy. Like something that's going to take me forever to clean up. Those are examples of like me getting myself together, recognizing things that I did that I, didn't like, and also making choices about what I wanted to do in this situation with a 3-year-old. If you have older kids, one thing I always say is like remembering that they don't necessarily know everything. And sometimes even as adults, you react to things when you haven't had a moment to stop and regulate your emotions. I want you to think about people who have road rage. Something has happened, or they're somewhere they want to be, or they're tired, or they're hot, or they're thirsty, or they're hungry, or the gas is about to run out, right? And now they're raising their middle finger at someone, cussing them out, screaming, yelling, and a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes we've even seen that like resort in violence. Like where I live, there was this like period of time where it was very scary because people were having road rage on the highway, and then they were like harming other people. They were getting out of their cars and like harming other people over that. We want to regulate our emotions, and we want to show kids how to do that too. Or a time that you've yelled at someone at work, a time you have not had a great attitude at work because you didn't have a chance to recenter yourself because things were so back to back on your schedule. You didn't have a chance to breathe. Think about times where you didn't feel well. Nobody knew you weren't feeling well, and something just like pushes you over the edge, and now you're crying. So many of that happens with us as adults. We have got to teach emotional regulation to our children, and it's okay to apologize to them as well, and to talk them through what's going on very briefly in an age-appropriate way. Those are the things that ultimately they really will stick with the kids. So I hope that helps. And I hope that you noticed I like, even when like, "Ugh, shoot, you yelled, that's terrible. They're only toddlers. They don't understand everything." Like, right. I interrupted the judgment. Um, and recognize I'm not perfect. I'm not always going to be perfect. Like, it's probably going to happen again. There's probably going to be something and it happens again. You know what I mean? And so, trying to make sure that I keep in my mind to just pause for a second before I react. Like, give myself a couple of seconds to like recenter, pause, and then make choices about what I want to do to respond to what's going on. And this is the part where I have this activity that I like to call the 3 pause method. And this is just like a simple tool you can use in the moment when something happens. I'm going to talk through it slowly here, but in the moment, it can be done a little bit quicker, right? As long as you're really like getting into each step, this can be done a lot faster. So, this really is something that I have used and I try to keep top of mind. I am one that like needs a reminder. So I got a couple post-it notes around that remind me of like 3 pause method, like pause. Are you pausing? 3 pauses. Like, I keep it simple so that I can remember that. It's in the spaces like on the family calendar in the kitchen, and also like, on a little board. We have like these little buckets, and it's like on one of the buckets that I have on the center island so I can see it. It's bright, it's colorful, and it reminds me of this. So, I'm going to walk us through this. If you're driving, don't do this, or you may be able to practice it safely while driving. But if you're not at a place, where it's like safe for you to do this, I just want you to kind of think about it and then practice it. I really want you to practice it, and I want you to implement it. It's not one of those things you do one time, you're like, that didn't work, I'm never doing it again. These are things that like you have to keep doing. Keep doing, keep doing, keep doing, because it's not necessarily that you're angry when it happens. Like, sometimes you can be super happy about something and nobody else is, right? And that you're going to need to use it then too. All right, so we're going to move into practicing this. So the 3 pause method is pause your body, okay? Pause your judgment, pause for choices. Let's practice. That's the step 1, pause your body. So you are welcome to close your eyes, or you can soften your gaze, look down, and I want you to feel your feet. Feel your feet touching the ground. Feel your feet in your shoes touching the ground, or in your socks touching the ground. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and take one slow breath. Not fixing anything. You're not reacting to anything yet. Just feel. And now, pausing for judgment, I want you to notice, what are you thinking? She's being so disrespectful. I can't deal with this right now. Why would they do this again? I told them I need a moment. Notice what you're thinking without judgment, and then let those thoughts be clouds floating by instead of concrete or bricks that feel more permanent. Let the thoughts be clouds. Let them float on by without you judging yourself. And now ask, what would a mindful version of me say or do next? What do I want to model right now? What do I not want to do? Like, ultimately, what is my goal here? And then you'll respond. Just a reminder that this is not about being silent. It's not about being soft. It's not about not having boundaries. It's not about not disciplining. Like, this is about being aware so that you can respond appropriately, right? Set the boundaries, establish the rules, and decide what to do. In my examples, I didn't let my son off. I didn't lower the expectation. I didn't let him just do what he wanted to do, right? In those moments, he still had things to learn. He needed to clean up. He needed to know that this is not, we don't throw our cup, right? We don't throw all the blocks down. He needed to learn. And so I had to choose how I was going to respond. It was also that I had more choices than I was giving myself. I could turn the stove off for a second, move the pot pan over quickly, take care of the kids, and then go back, right? So that's what this is about. So I don't want you to judge yourself when you're doing this. And I really want you to try this out. You can try this out at work. You can try it with adults. You can try it with kids of any age. I think it's helpful for us. Like as parents, we're constantly handling a lot of stuff. We're constantly going. And this is just giving you a few seconds to pause. In practice, like in a real life situation, you are probably going to do this and maybe it takes like 15 seconds, 20 seconds. You could slow it down if you need more than that in the moment, if you really need to feel your feet and really bring yourself down, or if you really need to think through like what do I want them to get out of this, or what do I want to model, or how do I want this to look. It's okay. Regardless, don't judge yourself. Some days you may be able to move through this quickly, and other days you may need a few more seconds. That's okay. I just want you to try it and implement it, and see how it helps you, and keep trying it, and tell other friends about it and encourage them to try it. This works for any parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, anyone who is working with children. Give it a shot. So I think that this matters in this current moment, mindful parenting, because there is so much going on, right? We are overstimulated. We are getting an abundance of opinion and suggestions from people and advice that we didn't really ask for. We are bombarded with perfect looking parenting a lot of the times, and people have their thoughts and opinions and commentary. And it's a lot to keep up with, not to mention kids are busy. And we have a lot to keep track of and a lot that we're thinking about in an ever-changing world. And so this concept of mindful parenting is super important because it helps you like slow down, center yourself, ground yourself in what is like true for you in your household, what you want to be true for your children, and do something that aligns with who you are and where you are and how you want to move forward. And we can all use more of that. We can all use more presence. We can all use like more times to just pause and more times to respond instead of just reacting. We can all use less guilt, right? And we can all use less judgment. Especially, I think we're probably the hardest on ourselves and we judge ourselves the most. And so being mindful helps with that. It helps to drown out all the noise and like helps you to move forward. So, sorry about that. So drown out all the noise, helps you to like regulate and repair and ultimately like stay connected or reconnect with your kids and with your loved ones. So I have some reflection prompts for you to think about. This is a chance for you to like pause and journal, come back to this and journal. 3 questions I just want you to think about. What's one moment this week where I reacted instead of responding? What's one moment this week where I reacted instead of responding? 2, what would it look like to take 3 pauses before I speak next time? What would it look like to take 3 pauses before I speak next time? And 3rd, where am I judging myself too harshly as a parent? Where am I judging myself too harshly as a parent? You can write, voice note, have a conversation with your partner about it, or a friend or a loved one, someone that you really trust, your therapist, somewhere in a safe space. I think these are like really great to reflect on because it helps to like make this real for you and think about how mindfulness can help you. So this episode is just the beginning. Like I said, it's a series. I want to make like the tools available to you and also like give you this podcast along with it so that it drives it home deeper and maybe gives you another option. And so, our Mindful Parent ebook is on the ParentPorch website. It's ParentPorch.com. And there are 3 lines in the top right corner of the website. That's the menu. Go to shop and it's right there. It's one of the first options there. It is an ebook. You can purchase that and download it and start to read through it. I'm going to go through chapter by chapter. This episode goes really well and pairs really well with chapter 1. So you can get that and get the tools, the exercises, and other real world examples to really like drive this home. It's an easy read. I think it'll be like really impactful to pair it with this podcast. And then each time that I record another section of this series, I'll let you know what chapter we're on so that it helps you. So you'll also find like, more step-by-step guidance, especially for self-regulation and some more like reflections that you can do. So feel free to like make a book club out of this, like whatever's going to help you. Just know that it's on ParentPorch.com in the shop section. All right. I'll be back next time. And I want to remind you, you're not failing. Like when you mess up, you're not failing. You are learning and growing just like your kids are. You're evolving and your kids are evolving, especially as they go through different life transitions, like, moving from daycare to elementary to middle, middle to high school to college, military, career, moving out, and further into adulthood. Like this, you're evolving. And so the fact that you are here, you're listening, you've made it this far, and spent almost 30 minutes with me in some practice and some learning and some thinking and some reflecting, it means that you're like already on the path and you're already doing an excellent job. So remind yourself of that. You're not failing. You're evolving. You're doing an excellent job. You're a great mom, dad, family member, caregiver, and you can always get better. Okay? All right. I hope that this is helpful, and I will see you next time on the Parent Porch podcast. Remember to tag a friend, share, like, subscribe, and follow us for more parenting content to help you on this parenting journey. I'm Dom, the Uncaped Mama. You are welcome to like, subscribe, and follow me as well, as I teach moms how to stop being superwoman and just be. See you next time.